here in the midst of such a large gathering of professionals. So let me start by thanking those who have organized this program. I think in any such listing, Shri K.T. Raghavan deserves not a special mention, but a word of appreciation. Thank you, sir. I'm also very, very happy that the head of the BJP Mahila Morcha, Vanati ji, is with us. Thank you for gracing the occasion. Then Professor Kanaha Sabapati, who's the Vice President of the Tamil Nadu BJP, and my friend Shri Sundaraman. Thank you all for being here. And thank you very much for giving me this slot to interact with you. Before I came on the stage, I inquired from my colleagues as to what kind of a format they would like. And they said maybe I should speak for some time and then open the floor out, open for interaction. By interaction, I mean you might want to ask a question, you might have a comment, and if you may, maybe I can clarify. But I think when you are dealing with highly accomplished and successful professionals like yourselves, that is a better format than the traditional political format where a political person comes and just speaks to you and goes away after that. Let me start by saying that I have a particularly close personal connection with Tamil Nadu. Not many of you will know this, and I don't get an opportunity to say it very often, but my elder daughter is married to a lovely Tamil boy. We have two grandchildren. One is 15-year-old, the other is 8-year-old, and they are equally proud of their Tamil heritage as they are of their Punjabi Sikh heritage. So whenever I come into Tamil Nadu, I feel a special affinity. Anyone who comes to talk to you, a gathering like this, would naturally want to be very, very careful. Why? Because this is not a political gathering. And yet, in many respects, it is more important than a political gathering. Because each one of you, whether you are a doctor, one gentleman, doctor came here just now, he is a Padma Shri, which he got 20 years ago. In his daily life, how many people does he contact with? At least, I don't know, maybe on an average, maybe 40, 50 people in a day. If you're a chartered accountant, you come into contact with people. So, if anyone who is interested in the well-being of the state, the well-being of the country, is given the correct perspective in terms of the not only what is going on, but the trajectory which we are following. I think that in itself is a very major thing. I want to share with you a small incident in my life. The year was 2013, and the Honorable Prime Minister then was Chief Minister of Gujarat. So in the month of April, I think 2013 or a little later, I went to visit him in Gandhinagar. And one of the conversations we had, I've had the privilege of knowing the Honorable Prime Minister for many years. One of the conversations we had was on the very important role that women play, not only in our society, in our developmental programs, but overall. And the conversation went from the role of the mother, the daughter. If you look at Indus Valley civilization, if you look at the position given to the mother goddess, and we started talking about the political arena. And I can tell you with a great degree of satisfaction, this is my 9th year as a minister in the Honorable Prime Minister's team. But we have gone in those 11 years that he has been the Prime Minister from women-centered development to women-led development. Let me explain why I say this. The Prime Minister took office in May 2014. The central government schemes, they took some time for discussion. Most of these schemes were rolled out in June 2015. And I'll just give you a few schemes in which I have been associated. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, out of which 4 crore homes have been built for those who are less privileged, those who are members of the economically weaker section, if we may call it that, and another 3 crores more promise was made when the Honorable Prime Minister came back to office for the 3rd term. Now, whom is the title of the house in the name of? It is in the name of the lady of the house. When you build toilets, and I was a Housing and Urban Affairs Minister for 7 years, I can tell you the very fact that you build individual household toilets or you build community and public toilets, but I'm talking about individual household toilets, it is a very strong boost for the dignity of the girl child. When you talk about cooking medium, I was just telling Madam, the President of the Mahila Morcha, that in 2014, when the Prime Minister assumed office, we had 14 crore gas cylinders in the country. 14 crore, not cylinders, 14 crore connections. From 2014 to January of 2026, the number has gone up from 14 crores to 33 crores, 33 lakhs. Now, if you do a simple calculation that one connection is for one household, and each household has 4 members, then you multiply 33.33 crores with 4 and you come to the entire population. And I can say with reasonable certainty that we have done saturation on gas cylinders. Today, everybody in the country, I am now working on a plan so that anybody can get a gas cylinder within 24 hours. Already 75% of our homes are getting it. Why is the gas cylinder important? Because again, the lady of the house. I don't know, many of you may be feminists sitting here. I'm a feminist, my wife is a feminist, my daughters are feminists, but I don't go to the kitchen. I'll make an honest comment. So most of the cooking has to be done by our sisters, daughters, and our mothers. So providing clean, affordable cooking medium is a very important part in this overall program. And I can tell you another thing. When the Prime Minister saw the landscape, in 2016, he introduced the Ujjwala Yojana. The Ujjwala Yojana provides to the beneficiaries, or in Hindi, Labharti, a cylinder at a subsidized price. And today, madam, we are able to supply a household which is a beneficiary of Ujjwala a cylinder for as little as 550 rupees per cylinder, which is, if you calculate per day, the cooking expenditure is only 7 rupees or so. Now, since the outlining of the scheme, its initiation in 2016, today there are over 10 crore beneficiaries of the Ujjwala scheme. And earlier the gas cylinder, LPG, which is the product of a refinery, that was available only in urban areas. Today I'm very happy to inform you that 80% of the beneficiaries of the Ujjwala scheme are in rural areas. Madam was asking me about the penetration of in Ujjwala in in Tamil Nadu. I have some statistics. If you permit, I will share those with you. I'm going to digress a bit. I'm going to give you some additional statistics. And my figures are for 2014 as a starting point, because that is when Modi ji became Prime Minister. And I go to 1st December 2025. The LPG connection in the state of Tamil Nadu in 2014 was 163.63. This has to be lakhs. And today, the figure has gone up from 163.63 lakhs to 269.75 lakhs. It's almost double. The Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana LPG connection, which in 2014 was zero, because the scheme only came in 2016. Today, it has 41 lakh plus Ujjwala connections in Tamil Nadu. The LPG, that is the cylinder distributors numbers, in 2014 was 1,083. Today it is 2,048, doubled. Petrol pumps in 2014 were 443. Today it is 7,980, more than doubled. The PNG connections, this is the natural gas, petroleum natural gas. You see, LPG, which comes in a cylinder, is the product of a refinery. Natural gas is there it was zero, today it is 60,943. LPG bottling plants, it was 19 in 2014, it is 30 now. Today, in addition to that, there are 16 compressed biogas plants set up in Tamil Nadu, and 55 more are under construction. And 11 ethanol plants are operating in Tamil Nadu. I'm sharing these statistics to you just to provide you a sense of direction on the progress that we have made since 2014. But if I share with you the overall global context, I think the figures are even more impressive. Today, the International Energy Agency, which is located in Paris, it has estimated, and when I joined this ministry, I was allocated petroleum and natural gas portfolio about 5 years ago in 2021. The IEA, International Energy Agency, used to say that in the next 2 decades, 20% of the increase in global demand will come from India. That they said in 21. Today they are saying in the next 2 decades, 35% of the global demand will come from India. Why? Because the economy is booming. And, I was very surprised, somebody, a political leader, I don't use this as political point scoring, but he was repeating a point that India is a dead economy. I mean, the rate of growth in the previous quarter was 8.2%. In the previous quarter before that was 7.8%. All the latest advanced figures saying our figures for last year should be about 7.4, 7.5% GDP growth. Please look around the world and tell me any other major economy which is growing at this rate. I don't know. The fact is India stands out. And let me give you a few more statistics. No matter which sector you look at, the fact of the matter is that energy is a reasonably good indicator of the performance of an economy. You look at any country, and if you look at energy consumption, if the energy consumption is falling, you can be reasonably sure. I mean, the kinds of energy used may be changing. For instance, you may be into fossil fuels earlier, petrol and diesel, but then you go into biofuels, ethanol, green hydrogen. I'll come to that in a minute. But overall energy consumption, if it is going up, as the IEA, International Energy Agency, said, it's a reasonably certain assumption to make that the economy is doing well. When I was, I spent 39 years as a professional. I was a civil servant. I was a diplomat. I was posted to Brazil as ambassador in 2006. The then government wanted to emulate the Brazilian biofuel experiment, and a decision was taken that 10 of our states and union territories, in only those 10, we would try 5% biofuel blending. Our overall biofuel blending in 2014 was confined to barely 1.4% or 1.5%. Today, my friends, we are blending 20% of our petrol with biofuels, with ethanol. What does that mean? It reduces pollution. Or with 20% blending, we save more than 40,000 crores, which goes to our farmers. So it's a win-win. The fuel of the future will most definitely be green hydrogen. And green hydrogen is even better. All it produces is water vapor on the road. And green hydrogen, I have always maintained, is best produced and will be successful only where there is local requirement, local production, and local consumption. Because the gas does not lend itself to travel, to transportation. But you can make green ammonia, which our companies are now selling to Europe, to Singapore. And when I had newly joined the Petroleum Ministry, I had a discussion with the US Energy Secretary at that point of time, Jennifer Greenholm. And she said, our aim is 1 for 1 for 1. So I didn't understand. I was very new. What she meant was to produce 1 kilogram of green hydrogen for $1, and we have to get that done in 10 years. We have recently floated tenders because I found out what is the price of green hydrogen, the cheapest anywhere in the world, and we found that was in Australia or somewhere else where they were producing it at $5 or $6 a kilo. And green hydrogen requires access to clean solar energy, which we have demonstrated. We have brought the price of 1 megawatt down to 3 cents from 25 cents, and it requires an electrolyzer. If you have the two, you can produce as much green hydrogen as you like. And in these last tenders floated, the price has drastically come down. It has come down to something like 330 rupees a kilo. It's only a matter of time with this kind of cost reduction that we can scale up, and green hydrogen will become a major fuel for use. My colleague, the railway minister, has a train, very heavy duty train, which is going to run on green hydrogen. It can come in the shipbuilding industry, it can come in the steel industry, and of course, in our refineries, we can use it. IOCL, which is one of the major companies, is already using it in 2 out of its 11, but we plan to scale up. I don't want to take too much longer on energy, but I just want to, because you're professionals and you have a better understanding than most people, some people try to run down our country by producing narratives which are patently false. And their idea is you just pick up an issue and go on repeating that issue, go on repeating that issue. And then some people, because the fact of the matter is, and I hope you don't mind, there will be many journalists here also, not many people read newspapers, which is a pity. But somebody like me has grown up, unless I read a newspaper physically and have printer's ink on my fingers, I don't have the same thing. Also television, many channels, but you go to anybody's house, the television channel is on, but the sound is off. A lot of influence is caught by YouTubers, by social media. So you spread a lie, and they'll go around. Like this thing about this dead economy, which I heard. I said, I'm surprised. How can an economy which is growing in that quarter at 8.2% be called a dead economy. Obviously, somebody has a vested interest in dumbing it down. So I wrote an article a few days ago saying that we welcome criticism. I mean, if somebody tells you how to do something better or something not good, we welcome the criticism. But equally, the criticism has to be anchored in facts, in verifiable facts. It cannot be a make-believe kind of a journey. So I think more and more people are realizing that when the Modi government or the BJP or the NDA and the state governments, when they talk about developments, it's there to see. We were a $2 trillion economy in 2014. We were at roughly the 11th position. Today we are the fourth largest with over a doubling of the GDP. It has on to past 4.3 trillion. And we will very soon be the third largest economy. Now when we talk about Viksit Bharat, what would be the average age of our friends sitting here? Roughly? 50? 50. Less than 50. How far is 2047? You are in 2026. All of you will be. All of you will see the India, which is a developed country. Of course, there is no, I mean, people like me may want to, but it is not realistic because I'm 73 years old, but I may be around. But all of you will be the beneficiaries of that Viksit Bharat, which is a developed country. What is the definition of a developed country? I tell you, I spent 39 years in the Foreign Service, 4 years in an international think tank. 39 plus 4 is 43, and I'd worked for a year also as a lecturer in Delhi University in St. Stephen's College. 43 plus 1, 44, and I've been a minister for 9 years. So I've been around for a long time. In many ways, India is more developed today than many of the countries which call themselves developed. Why? Because of the program of social and financial inclusion. Because today you are providing still 3 meals of dry ration, which started during the pandemic, to something like what? 80 crore households. It has not been removed. Look at your statistics. Our food grain production has gone up from, 240 million tons to 350 now. Our rice production is now 150 million tons. There was a time when you were looking for what is called food aid under PL 480. I mean, you are too young to remember that period, but you can read it in the history book. Today, you are a net exporter of food. So, the country is changing. When I was civil aviation minister for 2 years, from, I think it was 2019 to 21, we had 74 airports. Today, you have 160 airports. I just took a flight this morning from Chennai to Coimbatore, and our vice president was with me. Chocker block full. Plane is chocker block full. You go to our airports, are brimming with activity. New trains are being launched. And yet somebody turns around and philosophizes with a false conscience and say, oh, India is a dead economy. I don't know what they're talking about. And look, medical, we just discussed. Look, it's a fact. A lot of people living in the Western world come to India to get medical treatment because the cost of the passage, the cost of the treatment, and the cost of staying and recuperating is still much less than that. I have never heard in India, I met many of you who are doctors, I know a lot of doctors, no Indian hospital turns back people. Some private hospitals may have burning, but look at the quality of care, etc. I'm not saying it's perfect, but medical education, we can do more. We are always open, but in many ways, when people talk about visas and other problems, etc., this is a golden opportunity for us to take advantage and develop it. I'm going to conclude by just 2 comments. One, I genuinely believe that in our country, the best is yet to come. Because the 11 years have shown you've doubled your GDP, you've gone into from women-centered development to women-led development. I'm not saying it because the president of the Mahila Morcha is sitting here. But when you complete your census, when you complete your delimitation, and you will have 33.3% reservation, both in the state legislatures and the central legislature, and you will have more women in parliament and in your state legislatures. Global studies have shown that whenever you move from women-centered development to women-led development, your GDP goes up by 2 or 3%. This is a fact. So if you're talking about 7.5% now, or, nominal GDP of 10%, in the coming years, we will do even better. So I'm going to stop here. Thank you very much, but I'm open to any kind of interaction. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing lots of data, statistics on how our Prime Minister-led government is taking our country forward in terms of every independent sector, starting from how today women or a household can get a gas connection within 24 hours to the point that we are moving from women-centered governance to women-led governance. So during the registration for this program, we had also given a window where our registries can register their questions to you. And we've collated the question, and now may I just go ahead with a few of the selected questions presented here. We have a question from Mr. Badri Narayan in Chennai, and the question is, how is the ministry balancing energy security with India's clean energy and climate commitments?
I think it's a very good question. Energy is required. Very clear, energy is required. And you also have to make a transition from pure fossil fuels to less toxic and clean energy. But I have always maintained, and that is also now accepted, that in order to make a transition, you must have the ability to make the transition. What do I mean by the ability to make a transition? I want to go to green energy. Today, 20% of your petrol at the point of production is being blended with biofuels, which is already a transition. How much more do you want to take it to? I don't know. Time will tell. The ecosystem will have to make up its mind. Do you want to go from 20 to 22? Over what period of time? Then your compressed biogas, that's the transition. Then your green hydrogen, that's a transition. But let me come to something more basic. In the year 2014, we had 14,000 kilometers of pipeline for natural gas. Today, madam, we have operational 25,500 kilometers. That is, you have gone from 14,000 to 25,000. And by 2030, we are hoping to have 33,000 kilometers of pipeline for natural gas. Now, natural gas is totally clean. It's cleaner than cylinder gas. Natural gas also is cheaper. And now we need last mile connectivity, because whenever you award a contract for city gas distribution, it's always easier to take the pipeline up to a point. But in connecting individual households and last mile connectivity, that can become a more costly affair. So we have to be a little strict and make sure that the obligations which have been undertaken, they are being done. So we are making the thing. So this question of balancing, I think India is a very set case. We have announced a net zero by 2070. But if you look at the targets of our individual OMCs or oil marketing company, they all have targets of net zero between 2040 and 45 or so.
Thank you, sir, for which your answer of which has preempted the next question. So I'll move on to the other questions that I have. What are the steps taken by our government to fulfill our oil and energy needs by our own resources? It's a question from an advocate, Advocate Kannan from Coimbatore.
You see, it's a very good question that you should try and fill or meet your requirements from your own resources. For that, you have to increase your ENP or exploration and production. Now, madam, I'll give you some basic statistics. Anything to deal with exploration and production requires heavy capital expenditure. It requires a long gestation period. So any action that I take today will fructify, say, 5 or 6 years later. But the good news is that the period between 2006 and 16 was what I call the dead decade. We lost the entire decade because nothing was done. ONGC, which is one of our main companies, along with Oil India Limited, which is supposed to do exploration and production, they spent 55,000 crores in meeting the LPG subsidy. That's not their job. Now we do it because it comes from the central exchequer. But ONGC is now, ONGC, Oil India, I am in a few days' time, going to do a press conference in Mumbai next week, where we will be announcing the results of the open acreage licensing policy round 10. The Prime Minister has taken many very far-reaching and revolutionary steps. We have a total sedimentary basin of 3.5 million square kilometers, out of which 1 million square kilometers was what is called no-go area, which means that you couldn't go there because my friends in the Navy or Coast Guard or DRDO, they used to say we need this for our work. But we opened it out, and in the 9th round of OALP, 80% of the bids came there. Now when we open the bids for the 10th round, I'm sure 100% will be there when we examine them. So we are increasing it. But the fact of the matter is your economy is going very fast. Even though we have started, we have found oil and gas in the Andaman. We have about 55,000 barrels a day being produced in the Krishna Godavari basin. We have another 1 lakh barrels in the northeast, about 2.5 lakh barrels in Mumbai High. But we need more because the economy is growing very fast. So I think the emphasis on ENP, as we call it, which is, I think, the thrust of the question. Gas production is going up also, but we need to do much more on the ENP side. Our companies also acquire assets all right. When Mr. Vajpayee was the Prime Minister, I think we acquired an asset in Russia for 300 million. We've already got gas and crude out of it for $3 billion. So this is a continuous game, but I agree with the thrust of the question. We need to do more on ENP.
Thank you, sir. Here's a question from a gentleman named Praveen Sarathi from Virudunagar, who asks, can we expect a GST in petrol and petrol-related products in the near future?
Well, I think the emphasis has been on getting gas into GST. And, I have a simple answer. GST Council takes decisions on consensus. Everybody has to agree. Many of our states, I'm not taking the name of any state, they derive their revenue primarily from alcohol and petrol and diesel. They don't want to give up the revenue. So I think on gas we will be able to get it. I have had discussion. 1 or 2 states were still showing some reluctance, but I'm seeing that we may be able to get it done. Overall, all energy in GST, well, I'm on the positive side, but we have to do a calculation. The states have to come on board.
Thank you, sir. There are multiple people who have asked a question on this particular segment. With the US hold on Venezuela and the expansion of India's crude sourcing from 27 to 40 nations to safeguard our energy security, with a recent US proclamation and regarding the oversight of Venezuela's 303 billion barrel reserves, the world's largest, how do you view this as a potential long-term hedge against market volatility?
First of all, madam, I want to make one submission to you. There is no shortage of oil in the world today. More and more oil is coming on the global market. More and more oil is also coming on the global market from the Western Hemisphere. Brazil, a country I know, they used to produce 3 million barrels a day. Today they've added about 160,000 barrels additional. Canada has got oil. And in the case of Venezuela, which you just mentioned, I won't go into the politics of it, but Venezuela is known to have the largest reserves about 303 billion barrels. But that infrastructure is not producing very much. So if you had seen latest development, there's talk about investing there and etc. But apart from that, there is enough oil available all over the world. So we used to import, as you mentioned, madam, from 27 countries. Now we're importing from 40 countries. And the price of oil, which I used to have a running discussion with the chairman of IOCL earlier. He used to say it'll go to 80, 90. I said, no, I think it'll come down. Today the price of oil is 60. And if you look at the predictions of Wood Mackenzie, which is in that business, or you look at the predictions of another firm, they're all talking about oil in 2026, price coming down to $50 a barrel, even from lower than what it is now.
Thank you, sir. We'll open it for the audience. We'll take 2 questions from the audience.
Can I speak, sir? I am a doctor practicing for 62 years. I am 82 years young. Lots of doctors, Abdul Kalam gave me the Padma Shri. Lots of doctors go to Russia, Ukraine, Georgia, Russia, because 10,000 doctors migrate for medical education and come back here. Why can't we allow more medical colleges like engineering colleges? Our children need not suffer because there is a impediment. They want a speed money.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree. In fact, when the Russia-Ukraine military conflict took place, the Prime Minister designated 4 of his ministers to go to different countries to help the repatriation of Indian students who were studying there. So I was sent to Hungary and I helped repatriate the Indian students who were in Ukraine. They crossed into the Hungarian border. So something like 28,000. But I think we've learned that lesson. So you will see increase in the number of medical college seats, increase in that. Because today we are in the happy situation, you have the resources to set up more medical colleges. You have the patients in India who need that medical attention. And what is more important, as we go by and bigger hospitals are coming up, the foreign hospitals, one of my ambitions when I retired from the Foreign Service, I did not know I would end up becoming a minister, was to tie up with some of the major medical entities in the world. I spoke to Mayo Clinic in the United States and I had worked out something. Today I'm very happy. My friends are people I've grown up with. They are expanding the number of multiple, advanced R&R hospital facilities. They're coming up all over. And you're absolutely right. There will come a time very soon where it will not be necessary. The reason our youngsters had to go to Ukraine or to other countries to study was because it was impossible to get into medical college here. The people had to pay some heavy fees to get in, other thing. But if there is superabundance, the medical colleges will also be viable and people will study here, and the kind of diagnostic skills our doctors have. I'm not saying it because you're 82 years young, but I'm saying it because it's a fact. If you see me meet a doctor even in a normal state hospital, because they see so many patients, they have fantastic diagnostic skills. More important, I think all of them are getting latest equipment in. If equipment is available, our hospitals get it. I know that from personal experience. So I think things are going to be much better. And hopefully this phenomena you're talking about, our doctors, youngsters going outside to get a degree, will be something you and I will be referring to in the past tense.
Thank you, sir. One last question.
A very good afternoon, sir. This is Sarvajit Krishnan, Chartered Accountant. With the US tariff of 50% already having an impact on our exporters in this region with respect to textiles, and with Trump uncle proposing this 500% on the Russian oil imports day before yesterday, what is your message for the exporters here in this region for the textile sectors? And what is the short-term plan for the government to overcome this and the long term to strengthen our Atmanirbhar Bharat?
No, thank you very much. The question, if I were to answer the question in the manner I want to answer it, you will have a lot of interesting headlines. So I am going to avoid the politics of it. And I'll just give you one example. I've been a trade negotiator for many years in my life. I think it's something that trade negotiations are going on with us and the other countries. We've been able to sign some comprehensive economic agreements like with UAE, with Australia, with the EU, discussions are on. I think discussions are on with the Americans. So I won't go into, because this is ongoing work. But I can tell you something. When one window closes, I'm making a general statement, many doors open. I'll give you the example of our seafood exports. Our exports to a particular country were X, okay? And our exports were, let's say, the number is known. After some of these tariffs came up, our overall exports actually went up by 6% because new destinations were opened. Now, I know it may not be possible everywhere, but traders, markets, 50% of our GDP is in the external sector, which is the value of goods and services exported, imported, the value of remittances. So external sector is there, but I think we should acknowledge we have a very mature government, a government which is acutely conscious of that. And even as there is global turbulence, when, Russia, Ukraine took place, we never bought any crude from Russia. We never bought any crude from them. Today it's a very major supplier. When I was Joint Secretary on the Americas desk in the Ministry of External Affairs, and if somebody had told me that we would be buying $1 billion of energy from there, I would not have believed him. Today we are buying $15 billion of energy from the United States. Just now we were buying, what is it called, this LPG from Saudi Arabia only. Then we started buying it from UAE, from Qatar. Then I opened up discussions with the Norwegians. We are buying from them. And now we are buying 10% of our LPG from the United States. So, a mature government and a healthy private sector, I'm sure as we speak, people are looking at ways of how to solve it. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, energy is important because 29% of the seaborne trade is on energy. So we need big ships. So I was in Japan and Korea recently. We are talking about expanding our shipyards, and those large ships will not only carry crude but also other commodities. So I think picture is overall very positive. Don't go by the odd headline here or there. I know some sectors, but the government is looking at how to mitigate and how to rectify the situation there.
Sir, one last question, sir. Actually, this is for the proactive suggestion for the insightful action of the Petroleum Ministry. I'm a petroleum dealer of Coimbatore, from Coimbatore Association. Actually, Honorable Minister referred about last mile connectivity in so many areas. We are suggesting, actually, we have a last mile connectivity with respect to kitchens of all homes through the Petroleum Ministry by Ujjwala scheme. It was a very great scheme that you have clearly explained from 14 crore to 33 crores and odd numbers. But as far as this state is concerned, as you have suggested, I am trying to be apolitical. In this particular state, all schemes of union government is not reaching the exact beneficiaries with the credibility to the union government. In the meanwhile, some persons are sticking their stickers. It is only please read this as apolitical. Again, I'm reinstating. As a petroleum dealer, we would like to present from all OMCs. We would like to have e-Seva centers to take up the policies, initiatives, services of the union government to all the general public. As far as the Coimbatore Association is concerned, we would like to pilot the same in Coimbatore district. We all dealers are very much ready to do that. We seek and pray your support on this, sir. Please.
No. Let's be very clear. Not only because I am a petroleum minister now, but if you know anybody with some nodding acquaintance with the energy sector in India will know what an important role the dealers are playing. So I'm always in support of you. Today, the number of retail outlets in the country has crossed 1 lakh. I think it's over 100,000 retail outlets. So obviously the petroleum dealers or energy dealers are very much part of the growth story. No, whatever suggestions you have, you're welcome. I mean, we meet separately. You are in touch with our ministry. You are in touch with our oil companies whose products you sell. So I'd be very happy to look at that. The other point is whether the central government schemes reach down to the ground level in some states. That's a larger discussion. I'll tell you, that's a larger discussion. Yesterday, I had a very encouraging industry meeting. I've also put it on social media, where some of the very successful industrialists of Tamil Nadu were telling me that they have a difficulty on accessing some of the basic raw material. Now, some of that basic raw material is basically the product of large petrochemical plants and refineries. And since you don't have any petchem, so I can understand some state governments have this thing. So when I was asked a question, opener saying here, I said, I'm willing. You have to tell your state government. Because in a federal structure, the division of responsibility is such that the state government also has to take. So they said, we will. I said, meanwhile, we can find other solutions on, you know, doing something in an existing refinery of CPCL. They mentioned either in Chennai or Nagapattinam. I said, we'll do that. So any of your suggestions you have, we are very happy to look at. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for encouraging and answering all the questions. Now